Okay, good morning, everyone. It's 8:32 on Tuesday, Monday, November 9th, 2020. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Town of New Canaan Selectmen's Advisory Committee on Buildings and Infrastructure. And so far, we have 5 of our 7 members. We don't have Penny Young or
Neil
Budnick yet. And also Brian Platts won't be making the meeting, but let's get underway. This is a virtual meeting, and therefore comments from the public are must be made by email, and comments can be mailed to my email address, kevin.moynihan@newcanonct.gov. If we receive comments, we will read them, in the course of the meeting. So the first item on today's agenda is the approval of the minutes of the last meeting on October 13th. Does anybody have any corrections or comments on the minutes?
Nope.
Hearing none, we will accept a motion to approve the minutes. Penny Ration moves. Second. All in favor? Approving the minutes? That's unanimous. Tiger, do you want to take it away with item number 3?
Certainly, Joe, you want to, that would be Joe.
Yes. Good morning. So first I'll go through the wastewater treatment facility, CHP. The easement for the new gas main into campus is under legal review. The 2 CHP package units have been procured, and they are in the contractor's yard in Holyoke, Massachusetts. That's Aegis. Aegis is also building the load side. They're prefabricating some of the items off-site, which is the pumps, the controls, the heat exchangers at their shop as we speak. And we are targeting late November delivery of the CHP units. So they'll actually land on site in late November. And we're still on schedule for the CHPs to be up and running in early February. So is there any comments or questions on the wastewater treatment facility CHP?
On schedule, Joe. Thank you.
Excellent. So the SAC CHP and boiler project, the OLA has completed the boiler design. One of the boiler is for this season with an alternate options for boiler 2 and 3 in the next season. That's just kind of an update of where we stood last time. The boilers went out to bid, and the bids have been received and are being reviewed. It's preliminary numbers. The boiler 1 is approximately $230,000. And I will say that the bids have not been reviewed, leveled, and just made sure that they were complete. So that's a order of magnitude number at this point. OLA is putting together the bid requirements, the bid documents for the CHP. The town will have a review set of documents that's due the end of November. So at the end of November, we'll have a set of plans that we can do a page turn on and just make sure that you're designing exactly what we want. And then the project is projected to go out to bid somewhere around December 15th. OLA is also having a pre-inspection meeting this month with Eversource to verify all the incentives, make sure that we capture all the incentives. And we'll also get Mark involved to just make sure that we capture all the incentives on that. And any questions on the boiler or the SAC CHP?
What would be the schedule for starting the installation at SACS?
At SACS, we don't have the bid documents prepared, but it looks like I would guess a fall project.
Fall
So,
2021.
yes.
Okay.
Yep. There's not really much if we pushed it to, as I'm sure as everyone knows, if we push it to have it start up in the spring, there's really not much advantage to it because we get most of our savings in the fall and over the winter. So the goal is to have it up and running for the fall season, for those shoulder months.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Installation time, Joe, is what, a 4-month installation time?
I mean, with all the parts and pieces, it's really is going to be installed, commissioned. It's a 3-month, item. It depends on what we prefabricate, what you count in part of that 3-month item. You know, like for instance, we're over at the wastewater treatment facility. This contractor is pre-assembling a lot of the stuff in their shop. So although they might be on site for a shorter period of time, another contractor may do it in a different manner.
I see.
And Joe, none of the Eversource incentives can be applied to the boiler at Saks, right?
The boiler is what we're going to get most of the incentives on. There's $60,000 according to Mark in incentives in a rebate for the boiler. If we go to that condensing boiler at Saks.
Okay.
What do we
So,
have to
and
do?
just, I'm sorry, just
Go ahead, Ben.
on Saks, when we do that installation, take out the old boiler, Dan, that's when we're gonna get rid of the PCB paint underneath that boiler, complete the work there. Is that,
Any remediation work will be coordinated with Ty and Bond. We've already spoken with them, and they're going to come out Wednesday so we can review the job with them to make sure we're on the same page and we conform all the regs for this process. Yeah.
okay, great. Great. Glad we didn't have to do that 3 years ago.
Mhm.
Much more efficient cost-wise to do it now.
Excellent. So is there any other questions?
I'm just curious about the timing. I thought the Eversource incentives had a time period that they just have to approve them and then the construction can be done later.
So there's 2 different timelines. The question for the boiler is a separate one, and that incentive is on a different timeline. The CHP units, the further out we go with the CHP units, the incentives for the contractors go down. So that's a timeline. It's on it. We're already on the 20-year cycle. So the incentives go down every year.
Okay. All right, Joe, thank you. Who's doing this?
So- Thank you.
Who's doing the school solar projects?
I can speak to that on behalf. Joanne is not available today. But she asked me to pass along that they're in the process of executing the PPA, and it should be finalized this week. This is for
With Plankton, right?
with Plankton, yeah.
Actually, Dan, first of all, how did the East School project go?
Well, right now, we're in the final stages. We're going through the due diligence process at the end of the job. So that's continuing as we speak.
But it's not activated yet?
No, it's not turned on yet. Once we finish the due diligence, we'll know more where we are, but the system itself has been completed and is just awaiting the results of the due diligence studies.
Okay. But the Saks roof is done and West is ready to accept as soon as the PPA is signed.
So the west roof is, I'm sorry, the Saks cafeteria roof is completed and correct. It's the west is also ready to proceed to.
Okay. Tiger, back to you.
Thank you. There'd be the major capital project update. What we'd like to start with first is we have 2 competing projects or 2 projects. One is a town-run project, the West Road Bridge, and the other is the Route 123 culvert project that is a DOT project. Both have had changes in their schedule, and since both have detours associated with them, and then changes in their schedule as far as what we're looking for proposals. I'd like Joe to just talk through both and then we'll get to the rest of the major capitals after that.
Okay, so West Road Bridge, the design is complete. We have a contractor on board. They are procuring items as we speak. The culvert itself is being fabricated December in mid-December and will be available. We were contemplating whether we start the work in the spring for the West Road Bridge. The contractor has come forward and has requested that we waive the winter shutdown and perform the work during the winter. They want to fill a gap in their schedule, so they have agreed to absorb all the winter conditions costs, which is the heating and winter concrete, basically, which is not a small number, but they agreed if we waive the winter shutdown, they'll perform the work. They have extra crews available, and they would like to start in mid-January on the work. So we had a meeting with them on site. Depending on what the weather looks like for this winter when we get closer, we don't see any disadvantage to starting the work in the winter. And kind of leading into the next item, the other bridge, the Rosebrook culvert that's on 123, that was pushed off till the spring. So it would be nice if we didn't have two detours in town at the same time, although they may overlap a little bit. We looked at the detours in more detail. They don't really affect each other. One's up in the northwest corner, and the other's, basically almost midtown to the east. So you have Oak Ridge that you can kind of use as a secondary. So you'd always be going to a feeder road and then a main and be able to get where you need to go. Although, admittedly, some people that may want to cross across back roads may be impacted, but there's not really any avoiding that, and we don't have any more control over the 123 project. So, or is there a better item or a better way to do it? So we would like to, and I'd like to discuss it if there's any objections to it, release the contractor on West Road to start in the winter.
If there's no downside to the town, there are no safety precautions with ice and snow, salt, whatever. There are no other considerations of that kind. I would suggest we move forward with that idea.
I'm
Okay.
not sure.
Well,
I'm not sure it's for the committee to decide, Joe, but on the other hand,
yes,
do the state projects continue through the winter?
this
Typically,
one
no.
does not.
Right.
No, but I'm sorry, other state projects. Does the state do projects through the winter?
Some they do have a winter shutdown period, and sometimes they allow the contractor to work through the winter shutdown period without actually accruing calendar days associated with it. This would be different. Calendar days would actually run through the winter. That's his contractor's proposal, saying that he has 160 calendar days to do the work, and he's comfortable actually having the calendar days run through the winter shutdown period, which is to our advantage. So the 160 would run from January through June. And he feels that he can dedicate additional forces to it, 2 to 3 crews at a time, which it's in our benefit as well. The secondary schedule would be a June start with a finish at the end of Thanksgiving, which is starting to push the date again into the winter. So we'd much rather do it early rather than later. And while he can't promise anything, he does feel that he actually might finish early. So we feel that it's in our best interest to start this West Road now. And then we are in discussions with the state to see if we can't get them to change the 123 to a June start after school instead of an April start. That there's some residents that are affected, and that might be beneficial to all at that point.
Is there any additional material testing required to do the work in the winter? for concrete additives and all that other stuff?
There are, and he has that as part of his submittal is how he'll handle, you know, cold weather concreting. So there's an additive that goes in. It's an excellent question. There's an additive that goes in for that. And then he has his own heating systems associated, you know, so he owns the heating equipment. So that's, you know, it's basically a large furnace, as you know. So he's got heating blankets and a large furnace that he'll run. He doesn't need a generator out there since we'll have power to his trailer that can outrun the unit, and then the furnace will heat. So he actually has a very substantial cold weather concreting package that he sent with it as well. But you're right. There's some additional testing, and then we have an inspector on site, so he'll be there. You know, we have a resident inspector that will be there constantly throughout the project. So that site's covered.
So Tiger, the bottom line is we get it done earlier. It doesn't cost us anything extra, and it'll meet all the standards.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
So it's hard to say no to that.
That's true. That's true. And I think that this will also, if we do this, we might be able to then use this as leverage to the state to say, we already have one project underway with a substantial detour. We'd like you to move yours to kind of coincide with ours. Ours will be done in June, start yours after June. And then, so we might have a little bit more leverage there. They listened to us the first time. Police Commission wrote a letter. So hopefully they'll listen to us again. I can't promise that because it's the state, but you know, hopefully that might happen.
So just out of curiosity, what do they have to add to the concrete when they pour it in the winter? I know we poured the Saks floors when it was cold, and there was no problem with that. So, but I forgot what you had to add.
Joe?
If you know.
Yeah, no, so there's a chemical additive that just keeps it from freezing up. And it's more of keeping the frost out of the concrete for the 7 days during that critical period of it curing. So that's really the biggest two, you know, it's oversimplified, but those are the biggest two components of winter concrete.
So
And
oh, go ahead.
And they do, and as Tiger mentioned, they do have the equipment. So usually it is more expensive to do it because of the heating for, you know, 24/7 for 7 days. But the contractor has their own equipment, and the advantage of being able to do this work in the winter is they're absorbing the cost for the added chemical and the fuel for the heating.
So in the scope of the project, if it starts in January, in what month would you think that they'd be doing the pouring the concrete?
They would be, I'd have to look at the overall schedule, but it would be fairly quickly. It would be in mid-February.
Well, what's this deal? 80% state funds and 20% town funds?
This is 50-50.
50-50?
Yes.
Okay, well, I feel personally I need more information about this before we decide. So let's move on to the next item.
Sure.
Okay, the next is just finishing up the major capital project update. So at present, we're underway with the reconstruction of Fieldcrest and Village. Contractors installing or reconstructing the existing sidewalks that were there with concrete. There's 20,000 square feet of sidewalks on Fieldcrest and 7,600 square feet of sidewalks on Village. He's on Village now. He'll finish that hopefully by the end of the week, and then they'll get in there and reconstruct the roadway, pave, and move on to River Street. River Street will get reconstructed as well with an additional 4,000 square feet of sidewalks there. And then the thought is, if we have time in the schedule, to move to at least getting the base down on the Waveney Water Tower Fields parking lot. We put in the access road. The access road's been well received, and this would be phase 2 of that project itself. We had to split them originally to get Tennessee gas approval. We got the gas approval on the access road, and we just received approval on the parking lot. So we're working through. We'll bring that addition to the Board of Selectmen on their next meeting on the 17th, and get the contractor rolling on that. We are working on the Bristow Bird Sanctuary, finishing up that project. We added the dredging of the pond to it to kind of do it all in one shot, so we wouldn't have to disturb the area twice. It's coming out very, very nicely. The trails are in. They look excellent. The bridges are done. Bridge railing is done, and now it's just some additional plantings and some closure work. And then we'll look at redoing some of the fence lines to try to keep out the deer, and then work towards phase 2 next season. The Conservancy did some nice work at the Waveney House out in front, landscaping plans there. And we are working on the wall, the large wall that runs from the back of the powerhouse all the way through the back of the gardens to the walkway that comes down from the parterre garden. That is nearing completion. It looks, if you go down there and take a look, it's a substantial improvement to the back of Waveney itself. We put in 2 seating alcoves there at the behest of the Conservancy, and now you can sit in or along the wall, look down at the nice vista of the pond now that it's been dredged and beautified, and you can actually see into the Genium Meadow. So over the Anderson Pond into the Genium Meadow, it's a substantial improvement to that portion of Waveney. I don't know if you have any questions on any of the projects we have rolling at present.
And the Waveney Conservancy is working on their next 5-year capital plan, 5-year strategic plan, I guess you'd call it.
Correct.
Any updates on the Waveney House?
Sorry, yeah, I had that last. The Selectmen approved phase 3, moving phase 3 forward. So the contractor is now in the material procurement stage, and we'll begin the work soon. So that's in effect going to take care of the entrance off the western side of the house, taking out the existing ramp and placing basically a sidewalk in, since the slope will be more in tune to what the sidewalk joining Town Hall with the back parking lot is, that type of grade. The railings won't be necessary. It won't even be considered a ramp anymore. It's more of a sidewalk. And then the work at the loge, and then the fire escape in the back be completed as well. We're still looking at different alternatives for the elevator and interior work at present, and we should have some guidance and some path forward for the next budget cycle.
Will the phase 3 work be done through the winter, or do we take a winter break?
No, he plans on doing what he can during the winter. Basically, I think he can work on the back loggia. He can close it in, keep it warm, and do the work there, and get some work done on the west porch also. The only work that may hold him up because of the winter would be pouring some concrete or doing some footings on the actual sidewalk, but still waiting on his schedule. Hopefully I'll have that this week, and then we'll see what he says.
Right. Any other questions on the Waveney House? Well, we also have,
My only question is, having a son that's like trying to get married and every now and then looking at alternate sites. Waveney House, because people are having slightly smaller weddings and they want the outdoor space. Are we able to book any of those now, or are we putting that all on hold until this project is done?
Well, right now there's nothing booked through April, and we're hopeful to have all the work done by April.
Oh, okay.
So if anybody's going to book a wedding, they'll be made aware that we are doing some work there. But if we're trying to get the back done first, if we're still working on the west porch, that really shouldn't impact a wedding so much, because everybody will be able to still go through and still go on their back. So that's kind of like the goal right now.
Okay, great.
Plus, Penny, where you can't have large events probably through February 9th, and I expect even beyond that. So.
Right. No, I was thinking more about the spring season, and hopeful we might be at a better spot.
Okay. Any other questions on the Waveney House? The other substantial amount of work we have going on is the new scale house for the transfer station. Selectmen approved the purchase of a new scale house whereby we can consolidate our entire staff into one unit. So the existing scale house will be replaced with a larger unit that'll house our superintendent's office for the scale house, bathrooms for both our staff and for people visiting the transfer station or using the transfer station, and then a break room / locker room for our staff. It has been ordered over the weekend. A pad was created so we can take the existing scale house, move it out of its existing location, place it in a temporary location, still be fully functional, and then prepare the new area for the scale house, or the new scale house, when it arrives in about 8 to 12 weeks. There's about an 8 to 12 week lead time on the structure itself, since it's a prefab building. I think that wraps up. Maria, Joe, Bill, any other ongoing or current major capital projects that I missed?
Well, just really quickly, the 3 boiler projects have been completed, and we're making heat in all the buildings that the boilers were replaced. Our painting projects, all the exterior projects have been completed. They're now moving into the indoor work through the rest of the winter. The carriage barn project is out for bid right now, and we hope to have the bids back on the 24th. And the gas line, once gas line is completed, going down the highway department, in there we'll convert all the boilers over. It's pretty much the major ones right now.
Okay. Should we go on to the next item? Anything, or for basically an advanced read on our 21-22 major capital projects? That'd be okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
We haven't looked internally at capital at all for next year, but obviously one of the big items is the police department. And as you know, we stood up we appointed a police station building committee, and we will get that underway within the next month.
Correct. The other projects that we have, the Honus Ridge Bridge at Collins Pond is under design. The state actually is paying for that design entirely. They gave us 3 alternatives. I'll share my screen and show you the first alternative that we feel is probably the best alternative. You can see this is basically stays with the existing configuration, slight change in elevation. It would be, in the end, a very nice bridge itself. There's a little less road reconstruction associated with this rendition. The first 2 alternatives kind of stayed with the existing layout and existing plan. And the third alternative, we had one problem with stopping site distances in and around the bridge, and that alleviated that. But the only way to do that was to raise the bridge by 4 feet, which impact substantially the neighboring properties. We felt that in order to get to compliancy with that, and the state felt the same way, it would be better to ask for a waiver than to try to change the height of the bridge by about 4 feet. So this would stay pretty much in its existing configuration, a little bit wider since it is non-conforming at present. It'd be wider by 2 feet. And then the walls themselves would all be stone clad, in keeping with the other bridges that we had done. So we're looking to have them go forward with the design of this alternative 1, and move forward with the design, and hopefully construction not in this season coming up, but the following season in the 21-22 time frame. What we are looking at is over the past since 1999, 2000, we've reconstructed at least 12 major bridges. So into our major capital plan, we're at the point now where some of them are 20 years old on a 50-year lifespan. So maintenance is a necessity. So we'll be looking to add what we call a bridge maintenance and improvement program line item into our capital. take care of some of the small items that come up on to try to maintain the bridges and get the most out of their useful life, or actually extend their useful life. The state helps us out with that and gives us bridge inspections on the majority of our bridges, and we can use that as a template moving forward. So that's one item that we'll be looking at moving forward. As far as capital outlay, we still have our paving program. We have at least 1 year left before we're done with all of our roads, our existing roads. Some of the roads this year come under play from Eversource, and the fact that they dug them up in 2018. We gave them a 3-year moratorium, a 3-year time frame to put everyone on gas, or as many people on gas as they possibly can, and that comes due in 2021 or next season. So a good portion of the roads in the along South Avenue, between South Avenue and Main Street, or South Avenue and Old Stanford Road and Park Street will be reconstructed or repaved. We're working with them at present as to what the parameters would be on that. Excuse me, they are looking at putting gas into Town Hall. Their proposed route to come into Town Hall would be through the Park Street lot, come along the access road off the backside, so they might be able to service all the businesses on Elm Street through the back of the lot, come forward, be able to get the Town Hall annex, and then Town Hall itself with a possibility of Pine Cottage. They are looking at coming up Main Street from East Avenue to Locust, down Locust to the intersection of Forest and Locust to service the new development at 42 Forest Street, Silver Heights, and then be able to pick up the restaurants coming in from the backside onto Lower Forest Street through there. Some of the other projects that we have, Kevin mentioned that we have a marker in there for the police station. We do have a marker in for Waveney House if the decision is made on how to move forward with an elevator or the bathrooms themselves. We have money slated for a new roof at the Irwin Barn. We do have money to look at the possibility of a new salt shed, or a salt shed, I should say, since we had a salt shed when we were in Lakeview, and now we have a salt area, I guess you would call it, a location for our salt, which is inside our old incinerator that was decommissioned. So the thought is to try to take off the top of the old incinerator, the 2 incinerators that are there, convert that area for use for the transfer station, and then install a salt dome or a salt barn elsewhere on the campus. We also have monies slated for continuance to the Bristow Bird Sanctuary, and we have monies earmarked in case the Athletic Foundation comes forward with portions of their master plan. And then lastly, on the wastewater side, since Aquarian is looking at extending the water line, the water main from Cherry Street on Main Street, from Cherry and Main up to Locust and Main, to take care of the old stovepipe that's there. We're going to put monies into in situ form the existing sewer line that's there that dates back to the early 1900s. We'll wait for them to come in and do their work, and then we'll come in and line that pipe, and the entire work along that stretch will be done, and then can be paved, because the gas line will already be installed, then a water main, then the sewer line will be taken care of, and everything in that stretch on that comes through our downtown area will be taken care of. We'll go from there. Sorry, I need to move every once in a while, or else the lights go out. Yeah, I have no other. I don't have anything else that I can think of as far as what we're proposing at present.
Okay, well, take that screenshot down.
Sorry. Any questions?
One other thing on the Eversource, we are working with Eversource to try to encourage them to do some further downtown streets on the west side and further east of Locust. We're going to have a meeting with major building owners on Pine and Elm and Grove and try to get commitments so that Eversource will possibly decide to do that work next year. They do want to do further expansion in New Canaan, but they need to see contracts. So that's ongoing, and well, I think we have a meeting next scheduled for next week with the building owners. And anything else that we haven't?
What about West School?
Oh, that's all in furtherance. Well, actually, I take that back. The CHP projects and Canaan Parish and Millport Apartments replacing their heaters, all those things are going toward the West School. That's why we have to get the CHP projects done and committed, so they will commit to the West School extension.
I got it.
But this other expansion has to be justified on the economics of the customers that will buy gas. And
Yeah.
so, but they're beyond MOUs or intention to sign up. They want people to sign up contracts, and they'll then commit to doing the further expansion.
Hey, Bill, while you were on here, you mentioned over the DPW garage, Eversource coming down the bridge, bringing the gas down the bridge to the DPW garage. Do you have a latest date on that?
No, I don't. It's once the easements are finalized, Joe's working on that. Once that's all finalized, they'll set a schedule. Last my meeting with them, I don't really like it done before February because we have CHP loans going in and they understand that. So they're all pushing along and hopefully we'll get it done there.
Okay.
A lot of moving parts.
Tiger, somewhat unrelated question. With the increased number of residents working from home and clearly the increased volume of pedestrians and bicycles, et cetera, out on our roads, are you getting any feedback from residents as to the width of roads or the safety of pedestrians on roads? There's so many roads in New Canaan that are very narrow.
No. Short answer is no, I haven't gotten that. As far as outlying roads, things of that nature, yet our average width of road is just over 20 feet, 20.2, I believe, 20.4. So you're right. We are getting a lot of questions for installing sidewalks on more of the downtown roads or roads in the that might be serviced by the existing sidewalk network, either by connectivity, say Gower Road from Southwood to South School, right? At present, if you're on Southwood, you got to cross the street to go up Gower to cross the street again, right? Well, why not put a sidewalk along one side of Gower? Seminary Street, we have a gap from, I believe it's 60 or 66 Seminary down and around the corner past where the stop sign is. So we're getting questions there. So we're talking to, there's a new builder putting in a house there or a duplex there that we're looking at, and then seeing if we can't come around the corner. So we're trying to do connectivity. We are working, moving forward on the LOTSIP grant for Park Street and Richmond Hill. We received secondary comments from Westcog and the DOT. We answered those, and we're about to give another submittal back. It's kind of a second set or a second return. And we're hopeful that that'll answer all their questions. And even there, the question is, why aren't we continuing up Richmond Hill to Wheat Street and then Wheat Street to Elm Street to make a loop through that area? I haven't gotten any questions about the outlying areas for that. It's a great question, but I haven't, or any inquiries, in the outlying areas, just more in the downtown area.
I remind you, Tom, we've applied for a state grant along with Darien for a bicycle route.
Correct.
Darien through New Canaan. And that's, I don't know what percentage to put on the odds of getting that grant, but it would involve, could you describe what it involves?
Certainly. I thank you for that. I forgot there's a community connectivity grant that we, in partnership with Darien, it's a combination bike route and pedestrian improvements. So basically a bike route down South Avenue, 124 into Darien and in and around the downtown of Darien. And then it would come in and around our downtown, and then an outlying loop into the northern end of town that is substantially used by cyclists, majority for recreation, but the improvements, the pedestrian improvements in the downtown area include pedestrian bump outs at Elm Street and South Avenue, Main Street and Elm Street, things of that nature to try to reduce crossing distances, reduce the conflicts that you have with pedestrians and motor vehicles. And then the bike route itself would actually try to enhance ridership or usage in and around Waveney to bring people from Darien to Waveney and from the downtown to Waveney. Waveney being the kind of the midpoint of that grant or that plan. The grant itself is it's a competitive grant, so it has to be substantial. You have to prove on a point per point basis the need or the want for it. And so we are in competition with surrounding towns and basically towns throughout the state. We feel we have a good shot at it, especially since it was the plan itself was initially proposed by Westcog. So since it was proposed by Westcog, we think that since we have the weight of that Council of Governments behind us, we stand in a little bit greater stead to receive those monies. But it'll be our first bike route in town. I think it's a great add to the town, and we're hopeful that they'll come forward.
And back on the question of, we're working on the cell towers, and I hope to have an announcement before Thanksgiving. And then Tucker Murphy's been working with Optimum quite a bit about our problematic internet service from Optimum. And it seems to be much more of a pervasive problem than we realized. That although when we met with Optimum, they said that cable companies normally have on any average day 1% of their customers out. I don't know if people have experienced that, but it's led to the conversation about can't we get more competition in New Canaan for internet service beyond Optimum, and that's sort of a whole nother project. But I just want to mention that we're trying to figure out the Optimum problem, as a number of other towns are having, Connecticut and other states with Optimum. Working from home and having kids on remote learning has really put a lot of pressure on the internet service.
And one more quick question, Tiger. Have we had any success in eliminating some of the double poles in town, or is that still a?
That's a short answer, no.
Okay.
The interesting thing is that on any given day or week, we're receiving probably 4 to 10 call before you digs for new pole replacement. And obviously when new pole replacement is starts as a double pole and then works its way through. So the list is ever increasing, not decreasing. It's so we're trying to get to the point with them whereby sort of the one new regulation comes in and 2 go out, 1 pole comes in, 2 go out kind of thing. So we're trying to work towards that. We don't want to hinder their expansion or their replacement, since the majority of them are necessary for safety reasons, but we do want to see them start to clear out the sight line or the vista, so to speak.
Right.
But yeah, CERT, just so everyone understands, CERT was fantastic in going through the entire town and giving us a listing of where wires were an issue and where we had double poles, mapping it out for us and tabulating it for us so that we could then give it to the utility companies to say, hi, this is what we have in town. Can you help us start to alleviate some of these double poles? They tend to get lost in the shuffle as the utilities come forward and change over. Eversource is very good at moving their wires over, and then it starts to decrease as you go down the pole, down the gain, so to speak, through the cable companies, and the last is Frontier. So they start to lose momentum as they go down the pole itself. So you wind up having a double pole. Half of it has wires from one service carrier on it, and then half has the other service carriers on it. And they just become unsightly, and so we'd like to see them removed.
Any questions, Penny?
I just more of a downtown sidewalk question. Given the success this summer of the expanding the sidewalks to allow the outside dining, because of COVID, but it did create sort of a really fun atmosphere downtown. Is anybody looking at or studying, doing that once we get beyond COVID?
Kevin, you're right.
I've had conversation with some restaurateurs about having permanent bump outs, and we really haven't had time to start talking about that.
Right.
We do have a meeting today at 1 o'clock to discuss whether we're going to go beyond Thursday with the outdoor dining. The governor last week issued an order that I wouldn't say, or at least permits outdoor dining to continue through February 9th. There's various opinions on the subject, but if we had a weekend like next weekend, and we're closed down, I think people would be kind of disappointed. Who knows how long this weather is going to last. And the idea that people may want to eat outdoors as we go further down into restrictions on indoor dining.
Part of the connectivity grant that we proposed, or that we're seeking, actually has bump outs. The unfortunate thing is that they're in the intersections, where there aren't any restaurants. So the thought would be that we would have to extend those bump outs further to then incorporate where the restaurants are at present. But we are looking at that. We're looking at trying to do some enhancements in and around the crossing at the Playhouse, since we're still getting non-adherence from residents that will come in and park in the hash marked areas, unfortunately. So we are looking at try to do some additional measures there to prevent that. One of which being a bump out itself. And if we hard pan it, then it would be almost physically impossible to park there. But we are looking.
What about the movie theater and capital needs there and what's going on?
Well, the operator has indicated he's not planning on coming back anytime soon.
Oh.
We're gonna, and they don't want to pay anything, which is unfortunate because we have to keep the building heated to a certain extent so it doesn't deteriorate. We are putting off the new roof till next spring, at least, and but I think we hopefully the operator will want to come back and as COVID ends, and we'll have a movie theater. So.
So we're not spending any money on capital projects in the interim. We're kind of waiting to see.
Yeah, although we're just deferring. Actually, with this morning's news, I think maybe we should all be encouraged that COVID may be ending sometime in the first quarter, or at least.
Yeah, that's the good news.
Really good news. They were saying on this morning's television, this is probably the biggest medical development in 100 years. So.
Wow.
Good. We need it.
Yeah. Any other questions about any other projects? Obviously, a lot's going on. Also on COVID, as you saw from the school testing on Friday, with 540 cases, 540 teachers and students tested, not having one positive case was pretty unbelievable.
Yeah.
And makes us wonder what we will accomplish with community testing going forward. But we have community testing planned for Friday, but we have to get a critical mass signed up. And anyway, COVID's another subject for another day. We do have on our agenda approving a schedule for our meetings for next year. Does anybody have any problem? I move we approve that agenda, that meeting schedule.
Second.
George, second.
Are we continuing it at 8:30 on Mondays?
Does that work for everybody? I mean, it's kind of like gets the week off to a start.
Yeah, no, it's fine with me.
Puts pressure on Tiger to get prepared, but
I have to say, it amazes me at every one of these meetings how many balls there are in the air at the same time. And
well, quite honestly, the value of this committee, I mean, without this committee, only I have eyeballs on over Tiger and DPW. We've talked about whether or not we ought to have a public works commission, but there's reason not to have that. But I think the ability to have feedback and eyes on projects. The one thing, too, we're kind of reviewing projects that have been in the pipeline, and but I think this committee has had value this year. to focus our attention on some projects we need to work in coordination with the school district on. And so I think, it's been a successful year, and I think we'll have a December meeting. I thought about not having a December meeting, but there's always something to talk about. And so I thank you for your service this year, and we'll continue on. And anything else we need to talk about, Tiger?
No, I think we're good.
Perhaps we'll have a report on the progress of the police station by January. So, okay, thank you all. I make a motion. All in favor of adjourning?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, have a good day.
Have a good day.
I know.
Thanks.